Have you ever passed up a pattern that you just loved, but you were afraid of the half square triangles? Well, today we're going to show you just how easy it is to do a half square triangle. Keep watching. Hi, it's Donna Robertson
and Fran Morgan with Fabric Café.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We have a great hot topic today.
We do half square triangles. Now, if you've ever felt that half square triangles looked or were challenging for you, we're going to step through today just how simple and easy they really are.
Super, super easy.
So let's just jump right in.
All right, Fran, take it away.
So we're going to start by working with a 7-inch block to make a half square triangle. Now, the 7-inch half square triangle is very common in several of our patterns. We're going to be using the Pinwheel pattern as an example today, but some of our other patterns also use a 7-inch half square triangle, so that's perfect.
Now, the interesting thing about half square triangle is you start off with a 7-inch square.
Correct. That's correct. So thank you for correcting me on that.
Oh, no. You said a 7-inch square, but I wasn't really correcting you. I was just reminding you to tell the viewing audience what happens to that 7-inch and why it ends up being
a 6-inch finished half square triangle.
When it's all said and done.
When it's all said and done. So first thing we're going to do is cut a strip of fabric at 7 inches. And I have my square here, and we're just going to, the first thing I'm going to do is trim off this selvage just really quick. Let me get it all lined up and ready to go. So we won't need that. And then I'm going to flip this around so that I can get my 7-inch square. And I'm going to line up my ruler just so. And voila.
Ta-da.
There we go. And we'll set that strip aside for the rest of our half square triangles.
Okay.
And I've already cut a 7-inch square out of our secondary fabric. And these are a high contrasting fabric because when you're doing half square triangles, for those triangles to really pop and show up, that high contrast really helps and makes a difference.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do is we are going to turn this over to the wrong side. Now, let me mention too that we're using the lightest fabric of the two.
Oh, okay. And why do you do that?
So that you can actually see the line whenever you draw it. And what we're going to do, is we're going to take a water-soluble fabric marker or fabric marking tool of your choice, and we're going to use our ruler here, and we're just going to draw a line from corner to corner diagonally on the wrong side of the lightest fabric. So we've got it lined up here, and I'm just going to draw that line. And we'll set that ruler aside so that we can see that. So there is our line there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set them right sides together, all lined up perfectly. And then I would pin these. And then we're going to take them to our sewing machine, and we're going to sew a scant 1/4 inch on each side of this marked line.
That's going to be hard because you don't have an edge of fabric to follow, right?
Actually, it's pretty simple. So I always like to use my 1/4 inch foot whenever I'm doing this. And what I do is just barely set that 1/4 inch foot right on top of that line.
So you want it on top of the line?
I just barely put it on top of that line, and it moves it over just a little scooch there. So just enough to, like a stitch width.
And that's a scant 1/4 inch.
Yes, that is a scant 1/4 inch. Now you're going to sew on both sides here. Now let me just grab one. I've got one already sewn so that you can see what we've done. So here we go, what we've done. We've put it in our machine, and we have sewn a scant 1/4 inch on each side of this line. Now we've used contrasting thread in this occasion so that you at home can see where the sewn line is.
Right.
So normally you wouldn't do that.
All right.
All right. Now really simple. The next thing we're going to do is cut on the drawn line that we've already done. Super easy, super simple.
So you put it right on top of that line that you drew earlier from corner to corner.
Yes, right on top. And would you mind?
Sure.
Thank you. And we're just going to carefully go there. And then as you can see, we have 2 separate half square triangles.
Awesome.
Now, and when we open these up,
look how
perfect.
Cool.
Okay, now the next step is we need to get these nice and square.
It would make a mess. I know one of my first times I kind of had a little bit of a little divot because I didn't make them all square.
Well, it happens, but we're going to show you a couple of really simple ways.
Right.
Now, there's 2 different methods. The first method I'm going to show you is kind of a standard method that you can do with pretty much any tools. I have a half square triangle already sewn here. We have pressed the seam open, which I would recommend if you're using this method to press that seam open. And then we're going to take our standard square here. Now, remember we cut the original square at 7 inches?
Right.
What we're going to do now is square it to 6.5. And that means that when it finishes, it'll be 6. So that should give us plenty of room to be able to square this easily and perfectly. Now, a couple of things that I'm doing here. On your quilting square, you have a diagonal line here. And then, of course, you have your 6.5-inch dotted line on this ruler here.
Yes.
I have lined up first on the diagonal line on top of that seam line. Can we see that? Can we shift it just a little bit, and then I'll shift it back so you can see that I've put it right on top of that seam line. And I've made sure that my 6.5 is on top of the fabric here, and then I have a little extra on each side. That way I'm right smack in the middle there.
So you shouldn't scoot it up here so that it's right on the line one side or the other, because it might not be enough fabric to trim.
That's correct. So what you don't
point.
want to do is you don't want to have it down here so that your 6.5 line, there's no fabric there.
Right. Okay, so
Yeah.
you want a little bit of fabric sticking out all the way around.
Correct.
Okay, that
correct.
makes sense.
All right, so if you would hand me that rotary cutter one more time, we will get this trimmed up. We're going to do the first 2 trims on the 2 sides.
Awesome.
And I always like to pull my extra little bits off before I move my ruler. And then I'm going to take it and rotate it. I am going to line it up the same basic way, my diagonal line on the seam line, but this time, now that I have a nice straight edge on those 2 edges I just cut, I'm lining up my 6.5 right on that.
Now, I've noticed these little guys, and I remember hearing that they have a name.
Dog ears?
Yes. Well, I remember when I first started quilting, once again, somebody said something about cutting the ears off of my half square triangle, and I'm going, ears? What ears?
Didn't know they could hear.
I didn't know they had body parts.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got our diagonal line all set up there on the seam line and our 6.5 right on the edge. So now I can go ahead and trim that there. And whenever I trim this, it does pretty much get those little points, those little dog ears off, so we're good to go.
Awesome.
Move your scraps, and there we have a perfect 6.5-inch half square triangle.
And oh, what you can do with a simple half square triangle.
Although, I do want to show you a neat little trick.
Okay.
Now, you can certainly do it this way and get fantastic results, but we have a special tool.
I remember when I learned how to do this, I was so excited.
It just, to me, makes it so much faster. And our special tool is called the slotted trimmer. And it is really great. Now this comes, this one does a 6.5-inch square, just like what we just did. And the second one that comes in the package is a 6-inch. So if you've got it off, so it's the halves, the 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 would be this one, and then the 4, 5, 6 would be this one. So let's grab another half square triangle and trim that up.
I want to throw in a little comment here while you're getting your other half square triangle. Do you need this one?
I'm going to grab this one.
The first time I heard about doing, it wasn't using these tools yet, but Mary Ellen Futch, our awesome Mary Ellen, she emailed me and she said, oh, look at this little video, and she found a little clip that showed how to do a trim before you press your half square triangles open. I had always opened mine up, pressed them open, that's step one, and then I would cut two sides, that's step two, and I'd turn it around, that's step three. And so she showed me a little trick that just took two cuts. So basically it was one step.
Right.
And then you opened it up and pressed it, and then you had to do the other two steps. So there were still more steps, but it was so easy. And then it was probably about 2 months later, she emailed me again and she said, Donna, look at this video. And it was introducing these trimmers. And I fell in love.
Oh, wonderful.
And then I sent you a set.
Yep.
And you fell in
and
love.
I fell in love because I was skeptical. I was like, I don't like all these gimmicky tools. I just like doing it the old-fashioned way. And then I used it and I was like, okay, you won this one. You won that round.
It is really great. And we do sell these on our website.
These are awesome.
They're great.
Okay, so we are going to be finishing at a 6.5 inch, a half square triangle. So I'm going to choose the 6.5 inch trimmer for that half inch. Now when we use this is so super cool. This ruler, let me just move this up. It has, of course, the straight line here. We have some straight lines, and then we have some dotted lines on here. So what you want to do is put the straight line on the edge and the dotted line on the seam line. So we're just going to put this here and here. We've got that dotted line right on the stitch line. Once again, make sure that you have a little bit hanging off the edge there.
Does it matter, are you supposed to have this pointed at the little point in the middle, or does that matter?
It does. So you do want the point in the middle, but typically if you've got a little fabric over here and a little fabric over here, you should be good.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. All right, so then we're going to take our...
Look at the ears. They're sticking out over here.
They are. You know what? We're just going to take care of those little ears right now. This has a perfect little angle right there just to cut that off. And then we're going to cut this side. Excuse me. We're going to cut this side, and then I'm going to cut this ear off.
How cool is that?
And
so
there we go.
That was so much faster than the turning.
Yes. And remember, you trim with the slotted trimmer, you trim first before you press.
Yes.
And then in this case, you open it up for the perfect 6.5. And if you choose to not press open and you prefer to press to the dark, at this point you can do whichever you prefer.
And look, Mom, no ears.
Yay!
I think that was probably as much as anything excited about not having ears on my triangles when I press them open.
Absolutely. Now there's one other little thing that we need to just mention when you're making half square triangles, and that is when you're using a dimensional fabric.
Oh, can I do that one?
Yes.
Okay. So occasionally whenever you are whenever you're making your half square triangles, you will have a directional fabric. And depending on the pattern, you need to make sure whenever you are making your half square triangles and the pattern that you're using for that, you want to give it just a little bit of thought before you sew your triangles. And this is why. Now on this fabric, it is not really directional. It's tossed and it's just all over the place. So that's not a problem. But if you have a stripe, you want to make sure that you are sewing your stripes in the right direction. So if you're just sewing along and you're sewing your half square triangles and you do some of them like this and some of them like this, you're going to have stripes going every which way. So what we recommend that you do is to make a test and do this and see if you can work with it like that, or if you need to have all of them sewn the same direction.
It's a great tip.
Yeah, that's really important for you to be paying attention to your stripes whenever you're cutting them. Otherwise, you will, if it doesn't bother you, it's really okay, but you'll have stripes going this way and that way, and they will go every which way.
I think that's a great little extra step in there to take when you're using a directional fabric, just to make sure your end result is exactly what you're wanting.
That's right. Just do a test square.
Yep. Now we have some extra squares over here. Do you want to kind of show how amazingly versatile the half square triangle is?
Yes, yes, yes.
So we have several here, and what's really cool is you can make so many different patterns with half square triangles and so many different looks. So you can put them together in so many different ways. So let's just do this. So if you were to put, let's just play with them a little bit.
So like doing a puzzle.
That would be cool, because it looks like a diamond. Or we could put them like this. Whoop, let's do it this way. Whoop. It's kind of fun just to play with them and turn them all different directions, and that kind of makes like a square and a square. That's kind of cool.
And this is a good place to have a design wall, and if you have a small space, you can do what Fran and I used to do. We would put a piece of quilt batting on the wall, and then they will stick to that, and you can just rearrange them all day long and make rows and things like that.
I love it.
You get to be your own designer with half square triangles.
Now we have lots of patterns using half square triangles that we want to show you some quilts, but before we move on to that, we do have the fabrics available that we were using here in our examples, so let's show them those.
And let's show them the quilt picture of that quilt too.
Oh, absolutely. It is really absolutely darling. So we've got the image up on the screen for you so that you can see the final result of what it's going to look like with this kit fabric. And these fabrics are just gorgeous.
Thank you, madam.
These two are from your line, and I just love it. And I just love how this gorgeous blue picks up the blue and all of the orange and in the dark as well. Just so pretty. Now, I do want to mention we were using the Pinwheel for our example, and that pattern is available. And the kit number for that fabric is 8022042. It's called Spring Garden. Once again, the Pinwheel is available as an individual or as a or in the book Quilt Favorites.
All right.
And then we also have available, and then we're going to start looking at quilts because that, of course, is so fun. Now, this is such a striking combination.
I love that combination.
So, I mean, and I love having a stripe in a pinwheel. We were talking about using a directional fabric for the pinwheels, and what a great fun example, as you can see there in the image. It's just so much fun.
And this is an example. The pinwheel is one that you just need to make sure you make all of them the same direction, because the way you turn them, it'll work out perfectly. So always sew from the top to the bottom corner.
With the stripes going the same direction on
Correct.
everyone. Yeah, got it. Thank you. So their number one fabric is this awesome stripe. That'll be in the pinwheel. And then our number two, the perfect dot to go with this stripe.
Yes.
And then a fun black with just a little cross dot there, which is really cool.
This is going to be a thoroughly modern quilt.
I kind of like it though. It's very different.
Well, that was the whole point.
I just love it. The quilt number, the fabric number on this one is 8022041, Midnight Lights. And once again, using the pinwheel pattern.
And do they have to buy the pinwheel pattern?
No, if you get one, when you purchase one 3-yard quilt kit, you can get a pattern for free. Or if you get 3 kits, you can get a book.
That's when you'd want to pick Quilt Favorites.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so what's next?
Let's look at some quilts.
All right, let's go.
Here we have a gorgeous, gorgeous quilt made pretty much primarily with half square triangles. This is called Tumbling triangles, and each of these blocks here is simply a half square triangle turned. So let's stick that on the table and we can look at that closer.
I think this is really fun, the way you have the two fabrics
I
there
love it.
for the companions.
I love it. Could we actually get the cropping tool for this so that we can
Absolutely.
see very clearly where this half square triangle is? Because I think it's really interesting how just the simple block of a half square triangle can be put together and turned to create so many different interesting designs. And this, of course, is definitely one. And there's our half square triangle there. And what's cool is that when you're putting them together, rotating them, it creates a block with the number 2 fabric, and it creates like a block with the focused fabric. So it's really kind of neat. It's like it's a trick of the eye, and I really love that. And it's just half square triangles. So it's fabulous.
It's that magical quality to them.
It really is. Now the fabrics on this are just gorgeous. These yellows and blues and the roses. And then we've got with it the little, what would you call this? It's a dot, but it's like a,
it's only almost like the paintbrush dot.
yeah, it's very, very neat. Perfectly coordinated. So that's our number 2.
A pixel.
Pixel, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And then our number 3 with the blue pixels. Perfect coordination.
I like that.
So nice. And the kit number on this one is 8022043, and it's called Summer Blooms. And this pattern is called Tumbling Triangles.
So we saw one that was made with all half square triangles. Now let's talk about how you can start using the half square triangles to build a little bit more complicated block. And on this one, we use a solid color block so that we can really show off a focus fabric, but then we build the secondary block with half square triangles in the corner. And this one is called Modern Charm. So we'll put that up here and look at this. Can I have the cropping tool also,
Absolutely.
please? I guess we have a new phrase, pass the cropping tool. Okay, so I want to show you this half square triangle and how it appears here in the corner. So in this particular one, the pattern will tell you how many to make, and then guess what? You actually start making a 9-patch type design, because if we were to put this right here and we slide it down, you have a half square triangle there. You've got this little pieced block here. Let me pull this up. And then you've got another half square triangle there.
So simple.
So it's just building blocks that you're doing to build this particular thing. And then you've got another 9-patch there, and then the identical one over here. Now we have different fabric that we want to show you for this, because any 3 yards is going to look great in any pattern, but I really like this. This is cute.
So pretty.
It is. It's fun. This one's called Showstopper.
And it is.
It is. And that is going to be here in this particular block. And this will be your number 2 fabric, and it's going to be in the background. And look how it just really causes the cream color to pop out.
And this almost looks 3-dimensional. That's so pretty.
It almost looks like lace, doesn't it?
It does.
And then the third one that is your accent color, and it also is in the border and the binding, will be your number 3 fabric. And that is the same as this.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so, it's not the same. This is
Different
white.
color. But it's the same.
Okay, this one is 8021621, Showstopper. Modern Charm is the name of that pattern. It's only available in Quick as a Wink book, but an alternate pattern would be Heartland. Now remember, you get 1 free pattern with every quilt kit that you purchase with Fabric Café, or you can skip the little pattern, and you can take a book free when you buy 3 kits.
That's great. So our next quilt using half square triangles is Dancing Bears. And this is I just love this because it's so bright and bold and fun. And we've got all of our little bear claws made with half square triangles. So let's stick that on the table and look at that with the cropping tool.
That is gorgeous.
It absolutely is just so much fun. I love the versatility of the half square triangle. I am just still blown away by how much you can do with it and how many different looks that you can get. Because once again, the rest of this is just a simple square, and then here is your half square triangle, and we've just put them together to make the little,
right.
It's just so much fun. And what gorgeous fabric we have on this one. These gorgeous blues and greens on the caladiums here, just so much fun, and they're going in the border as well as the block here. And then our background fabric. Now remember, you take the focus out of the equation and you compare the last 2. The lightest is your number 2 fabric as the background, and the darkest would be your number 3. So in this case, remember earlier in the program where we said you need to make sure you get plenty of contrast in your half square triangles? This is a really good example of that. And this quilt kit is perfect for that because you've got your white background with a little bit of blue and then your darker number 3 for that claw.
Now, well, after all, it has that in the name. So. Well, no, it doesn't either. It's dancing bears.
It's dancing bears. Yeah. Well, you know, bears have claws.
Right.
So this quilt kit is called Tropic Tango, and its number is 8021664. It is the Dancing Bears pattern, which is only available in the book Quilts on the Double, or we offer Cartwheel as an alternative.
Very good. This one is a gorgeous one, and I love dancing bears. Now, as you make your half square triangles, you will start gaining more and more confidence until you are ready to make something like Time Machine. Now, the cool thing about Time Machine is it has 72 half square triangles. So it takes a little while to make all those little half square triangles, but whenever you put them together, you have a gorgeous, gorgeous quilt. So we'll put that up on the table and we'll do some blocking so we can show you how this one's made. And you can see all of these half square triangles. Now, there is a particular block that this would all be a solid piece, this would all be a solid piece, but in this case what we're doing is we're just using half square triangles, and I'll show you where that is in the quilt. So there it is, hiding right there in that block.
So simple.
And then just to finish it up, there's the second one down here. When you put those together and sew that seam, you get one of the components. So this unit is going to be just flipped or turned, and there is your block. Isn't that cool?
That is so, so cool. Beautiful quilt.
Yeah, I love, love, love this particular one because, you know, the more pieces and parts that you get to a quilt, the little bit more like a piece of art that you've created by mixing and matching and moving pieces around. What if you have a spa bedroom and you want just a real calming, cool, we have the perfect fabric for that. This has Cherish and You Are Loved and all those sweet little words like that. And that is going to be in the largest block.
Oh, that's wonderful. I could see this for a little baby too.
Oh, it would be precious for a
be
little baby.
sweet.
Yes. So this would be the number 1 going here. The number 2, as Fran just said, is your background color. It is going to be the backdrop so that all of your design really pops. And I love the way this block put in these different places causes this block.
Yes.
And again, it's all done with half square and then a regular square as well. So number 2 fabric, and the number 3 fabric will be your darker parts here, in your borders and your binding. So that's
Very
going to
cool.
be really cool. Now this one is called Love and Cherish. 8022044. Time Machine is the pattern. Easy Does It is the book that pattern is in. And the alternate pattern, because Time Machine's only available in the Easy Does It, so the alternate pattern we suggest is, once again, we have some pinwheels. This one's called Happy Go Lucky. So it's a row quilt made with the half square triangles.
Very fun.
Well,
Very
that
good.
was fun.
It was. And don't forget to check out online our book bundles.
Yes.
We have how many different books? So many here. I can't even remember.
9.
9. And also don't forget that when you purchase 3 of our 3-yard quilt kits, that you get to choose a book for free.
Yep, that's right. And if you're enjoying our shows, we sure hope that you will subscribe and click on the little bell so you'll get notifications when we put new videos up. And
be sure and share with your friends. Don't forget to check out all the wonderful patterns on fabriccafe.com and try out the half square triangle.
yes, happy triangle making.